Hello everyone, today I bring you my long-awaited comparison review of the new Chanel foundation called Perfection Lumiere. And the reason I couldn't review this earlier is because it wasn't available at my local Nordstrom, so I actually had to track this one down. And because I didn't want to order online, it took me a while to get around to a counter. And I ended up with 40 Beige, and it's a great color for me. It's a very yellow-based foundation that works very well with my skin tone and covers the redness and the sunspots that I have on my left cheek. I actually have more on my left cheek than I do my right cheek, because as you can see, I've always had bangs or cropped hair to the side here. So Perfection Lumiere is working out great for me. I really love the foundation and I've been wearing it every single day since I purchased it. It comes in the standard frosted glass bottle that the Pro Lumiere came in. And while Pro Lumiere is called the Professional Finish Makeup, Perfection Lumiere is called the Long Wear Flawless Fluid Makeup. But it is a flawlessly wearing foundation and it does last for more than 5 hours even without powder. And as you guys know, I rarely ever skip powdering foundations. But with this one, I get such great wear that I really don't need to powder. It does have a liquid to powder finish, which makes it excellent for those with combination skin. I feel as though this might not be moisturizing enough for those with dry skin, so you might want to wear a slightly heavier moisturizer depending on how dry your skin is. And if you have oily skin, this would be great for you if you powder with a mattifying powder. My favorite mattifying powder, as you guys now know, is the Guerlain Meteorites pressed powder. But Chanel also makes a translucent pressed powder that's really good for those of you who need a touch-up powder and don't want to use something as heavy as perhaps a powder foundation to touch up your oily spots. These foundations were both made in France and they both come with 1 ounce of foundation. Perfection Lumiere is oil-free. I do believe that Pro Lumiere might be oil-free, but it doesn't say so on the bottle. I'm so sorry that I can't quite remember. I threw out the box, so I don't know anymore, but you can probably look it up if you're still interested. So if you do prefer this one to the Perfection Lumiere, stock up now. And actually, I was not a fan of Pro Lumiere when I first started trying. It took me about half of my first bottle to really start liking it. It just didn't seem to absorb quite as well as my other Chanel foundations, and it reminded me a little bit of the previous formulation of Vita Lumiere. And I did not like that Vita Lumiere original because it was just tacky, and on my combination skin, especially on my T-zone, the oils from my own face, my natural oils, would mix with the oils of the Vita Lumiere formula and just separate. Ooh, excuse me. So it just wasn't a very appealing foundation for me at the time. But the more I used Pro Lumiere and the drier my skin became during the winter, it really became a great foundation for me to turn to. Plus the color match was really good. I was using 20 at that point, but I moved up to 30 because I'm getting darker and darker. If I wanted a slightly dewier look, I would go with the older Pro Lumiere, but the Perfection Lumiere does tend to shine a little bit at the end of the day if I don't powder. If I powder, I find that it stays relatively semi-matte, just like this one, but this is better at staying semi-matte than is the older Pro Lumiere. Also, the main difference in factor for incentives to purchase this new foundation is that it comes in such a wide variety of shades. This is the largest foundation launch that Chanel has ever released, and there are, I believe, over 20 colors, which is a very big deal because most Chanel foundations only come in 10 colors, if that. If you have very dark skin, for example, if you're African American and you have a very difficult time finding a color match in Chanel foundations, definitely check out the new Perfection Lumiere because you may be able to find a match. It also seems that there were colors for very, very fair women as well. Chanel foundations do tend to run either really pink or really yellow depending on the shade that you purchase. For example, 40 Beige, the one that I purchased, is very yellow, but I am going to put on both and you're going to watch me apply both so that you can see how well they spread and other factors that might encourage you to purchase one or discourage you from purchasing another. Alright, so let's get started. So I'm wearing absolutely no makeup so that you guys can see the effects of both of these foundations on my face for yourself. I'm going to put on the Pro Lumiere first, and this is in 30 Cendre Shell. And this is once again Pro Lumiere, the old formula. This is one full pump. And now with the old Pro Lumiere, I like to work with my hands because it's a heavier foundation. It's very thick, and with a standard foundation brush or even a Sigma F80, it tends to soak up in the bristles. And so when I use my fingers, it warms up the product and helps it blend more evenly into my skin. And keep in mind that I still have my summer tan, so it is going to look a little light on me. Now I'm just going to pat it in. And just because I use my hands for the Pro Lumiere, I'm also going to use my hands for the Perfection Lumiere. And this one you can use with a brush. It won't soak up too much, and it does dry down to a powder finish, so you don't have to worry about excess product getting stuck in the bristles. This is one pump for Perfection Lumiere using 40 beige. This suits my coloring really well right now, and when I become paler, it'll actually be perfect. So I don't know if the differences are going to be apparent on camera, so I'm going to point them out to you. Perfection Lumiere looks a lot more matte than the old Pro Lumiere did. The old Pro Lumiere is a very dewy foundation, and it requires a setting powder. The foundation has a hard time setting on its own, and it can actually make you look greasy throughout the day. Although if you do have dry skin, Pro Lumiere was pretty good for you. I, on the other hand, have combination skin, so I do need to powder. However, with the new Perfection Lumiere, because it dries down to a powder finish, it doesn't give you a completely matte look, but it's very semi-matte, and in my opinion, more natural than matte Lumiere, so I actually really love this foundation, even though the coverage is a little lighter. I'll zoom in so you can see. So you see less of a glare on this side than you do on this side because the foundation isn't as dewy. My skin is a little bit more problematic on this side with the sunspots, so I do need that extra coverage. However, my broken capillaries here are relatively well covered considering I'm not wearing any concealer. And just in case any of you are wondering, I'm not wearing mascara, I just curled my eyelashes. But overall, I really feel that Perfection Lumiere is worth trying out. The color match, like I said, is a really good one for me, and 30 Cendre Shell in Pro Lumiere has a little bit of a red tone, but 40 in Perfection Lumiere is very yellow, which is helping to neutralize the red of the broken capillaries that I have on my cheek. Okay, so now that my makeup is on, and you can find a list of the makeup that I'm wearing in the description box below. I always list my makeup and my contact lenses in the description box blog post. So just check that out if you want to see what makeup I'm wearing. But I did top with my Lumiere loose powder in 03 Beige. This is one of my favorite loose powders because it gives a really natural finish. So that's a really great loose powder to invest in if you like to wear liquid foundations. Overall, I find that my Pro Lumiere is a great foundation, and I'm so glad that this is almost a brand new bottle so that I can use it whenever I wish. But the Perfection Lumiere undoubtedly is a great overall foundation to wear during the day as well as for photography. This one only has an SPF of 10. As you can see, it's listed on the bottle, SPF of 10, whereas my Pro Lumiere has an SPF of 15. They're both long wear formulas, but I do find that the older Pro Lumiere does wear a little bit longer, probably for another 1 or 2 hours. I'm a fan of both, and as much as I am sad to see the old Pro Lumiere go, I really do love the Perfection Lumiere, and I think this is my new favorite foundation. And before we close out the review, I figured I would just say a few brief words about the new foundation brush. The newer one is this bottom one here, the one with the matte black handle and the silver Chanel engraving. They're both excellent traditional foundation brushes with the paddle head shape. However, I feel that the older brush, the one with the brownish orange bristles, is actually better for thicker formulas like the old Pro Lumiere. The new one is a little bit more streamlined. It has those duo fibers, and it actually helps you work faster. Now, it's up to you which you prefer, and I do know some diehard fans of the older brush, so if you want a backup, I highly recommend you go out and purchase it now before the new ones phase in. I have heard that All of the European brushes will be brought over during the holiday, so I can't wait. I will have a full blog post review dedicated to these foundation brushes, but if you can't wait to see more reviews of this particular brush, go ahead and check out thebeautylookbook.com because Sabrina should have posted her review by now. If you have any further questions, feel free to go ahead and leave them below in the comments and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. I will have a full Chanel foundations review coming up. The only Chanel foundation that I do not use is the Lift Lumiere, and I buy that for my grandmother whenever she needs it, and that's why I'll include it in the review as well. But just keep in mind that Lift Lumiere is intended for women who have mature, dry skin. I will probably have that review posted next month, if not the month after that. It just takes time for me to get around to everything. And just like today, I do put on the foundation so that you can see them on my bare skin, which is why it takes me longer to film a review like that. But I hope you'll be able to wait, and I hope you look forward to it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!